What are the best settings for this monitor? By best settings, I mean the settings which I use as my test settings. So they suit my unit, my lighting conditions, my preferences, and the targets I go for when I review monitors. They keep my colorimeter happy, in other words, but individual preferences and units will vary. So first off, brightness, I changed that to 42. That got around 160 nits, which is a target I usually go for consistency when I'm reviewing, and that suits most of my lighting conditions in my room. The preset user is my preferred setting. That's because all of the others, well, they make various changes to the image, but they also block off a lot of things. Even the brightness control makes them essentially quite useless for most people. Hue and saturation is also blocked off, which is less important, but strangely you can adjust the color channels, so it's a bit odd how they've restricted things like brightness, but you can change the color channels in all of the presets. Anyway, just stick to user, it's the most flexible. Color temperature was another change I made. It was actually set to user by default. Normal on my unit was a bit cool tinted, so I had to go to user and reduce the green channel and also the blue channel. But again, this is just for my units, my preferences, my targets, etc. These aren't necessarily going to be optimal in your case. And I left everything else alone, except I made sure that FreeSync/G-Sync was set to on. This controls adaptive sync on the monitor, so you can use FreeSync or G-Sync compatible. And the overdrive I like to set to middle, at least for high refresh rates, and this is explored more in the review. And that's really all I changed. So user preset, lowered the brightness to 42, made some adjustments to color channels, enabled FreeSync/G-Sync, and made sure overdrive was set to middle. I've enabled HDR, and when you do this, you'll notice that the settings are very different. Most things are grayed out, and you can't change the preset. All you can actually change is the sharpness. Color's also grayed out. So you can set the overdrive, you can enable FreeSync/G-Sync, so you can use VRR at the same time as HDR. So yeah, it's really very restrictive, and the neutral value of 50 for sharpness I find just fine, but if you want to change according to your preferences, you can do that. 60 actually gives quite a strong over sharpening. It's quite a strong sharpness algorithm, if that makes sense. So just one nudge up to 60 really does give obvious over sharpening, quite an artificial look. I mean, I like to see sharpness control because not all monitors have it, but I think it would have been better to have a more granular approach to the sharpness control as well.